The organization, known as Child and Family Services, at one time seemed to be strictly a New Bedford organization, but since that time it's become a regional agency, almost a statewide agency, providing a variety of services to families on the South Coast and beyond. Here to talk about Child and Family Services and an upcoming fundraiser are Susan Remy, the agency's development director, and Cherie Morehouse. She is a co-chair of a fundraiser we're going to talk about, also and a very active volunteer. For those who don't know, what is Child and Family? I can't imagine there aren't too many people who don't know, but for those who don't know, Susan, what is Child and Family Services?
Well, we are a private, nonprofit organization. A lot of people confuse us now with the Department of Children and Families, which is the state agency, but we have been around since 1843. Providing services in the home and, in our offices that are located throughout, like you said, the state. So we are an agency providing adoption journeys, which is a post-adoptive program, therapeutic mentoring programs, parenting programs, young parent programs, and crisis and emergency services. Actually, here in New Bedford, we have our emergency services and 24-hour programs. So we run the gamut of just basically, someone who needs support all the way to someone who needs crisis intervention.
And your service area, which at one time was kind of New Bedford's
right.
proper, now is
statewide. So we have 3 sites in New Bedford, 1 in Fall River, 1 in Hyannis and Harwichport, and then we have satellites in Lawrence, Florence, Worcester, Needham, and Plymouth.
All right. The fundraiser is coming up on November 16th, and it's called 365 Days of Hope. Cherie Morehouse is co-chairing that event. Tell us about this event. How did it come about, and what's the goal here?
So this event, how many years is this, Susan?
Like 17 years. Been running.
So this has just been a wonderful event in the community, and I became involved several years ago. I was on the board of Child and Family at one point, and now in my current role at AFC Urgent Care, I'm the business development manager. So it gives me the opportunity to participate in the community. And I just think that this is a wonderful event because it brings the community together. We have lots of restaurants that come and donate their food. We have Douglas Wine and Spirits that donates the wine and the spirits to the function. We have The Real Deal, which is an amazing, fun band, so it gets everybody out there dancing and having a good time. Wonderful businesses in the area donate raffle prizes and auction items, and it's just a really fun way to come together and give back to our community.
How can people get involved?
So we are always looking for people to get involved on the volunteer aspect, and they can always contact Susan at Child and Family for sure. We're always looking for some new ideas and new energy in the group. But anyone that wants to get involved, a restaurant or anyone who may have a business who would like to participate and volunteer and offer up a gift card or a donation of some sort for our raffle or auction would certainly reach out to Susan. We'd be more than happy to have them participate.
Can folks still get tickets?
Absolutely, yes. Tickets are available, and again, through the website. Can they obtain them on the website?
Correct. We are selling tickets, and you can order them right from the website. It's child-familyservices.org, or they can contact me at 508-742-1032.
And again, this has been going for some time. It's one of, as I understand it, 2 major fundraisers that Child and Family does each year. The golf tournament, wildly successful, I think.
Yes, very big in June, one-day event, yes. But this event started, if I can go back a little bit, started with Richard Cardoza many, many years ago. And we had some volunteers and community members who wanted to help children who didn't have any Christmas presents. Or holiday, I should say now, to be politically correct. Presents, warm clothing, food. So they said, let's put on this event, raise some money, and let's get some families sponsored. We started doing the Adopt a Family, it was called, and now it's the Holiday Hope Project family, Holiday Hope Project, excuse me, and the gala helps support that, so purchases the food cards and purchases a lot of items for the adults that we see that are suffering from mental illness, but they are isolated, they don't have any family members, and they're not the type of person a lot of people want to buy for. They want to buy for the little children, and they don't understand why someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s needs a present. But it's almost like a gift of goodwill to give them the blanket that they need or the coat that they need. So that's why we have this event.
All right. You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. My guest is Susan Remy, the Development Director, and Cherie Morehouse, volunteer from Child and Family Services here on the South Coast, Cape Cod, and parts beyond. So let's talk a little more specifically about the services Child and Family offers. I think that as life became more complicated as the years went on, and the 70s turned into the 80s, and the 80s turned into the 90s, and the 90s turned into the 2000s, there became, I think, a need for a lot more kinds of services to help families get through and you are providing a number of services beyond counseling.
Correct.
Beyond just counseling.
Yeah, we have approximately 20 programs, outreach programs, and what they do, a lot of our services are wraparound, which means that we are working in collaboration with other organizations just to make sure that we're filling the gaps that families need, but also not overlapping as well. So one of our programs, the Caring Network program, is a program that we have to raise a lot of money for because it's through a matching grant through the Victims of Crime Act, VOCA. And that program only has 2.5 people working in it, so 2 full-time, 1 part-time. And they provide services last year to 311 children. And that program specifically provides services to children ages 4 through 14 who have witnessed violence, whether in the home, the school, or the community. They worked with, a young girl who was playing in the backyard and heard shots fired. She went to the front of the yard and her father was shot and he died right there. So she needed services. And that program all came about with our collaboration with the New Bedford Police Department and how they were responding to domestic violence calls and, helping the mom, the victims, and then seeing the kids and they're cowering under the tables, hiding, or in the closets, or they're just, frozen with fear. And they said, we need to do something to help these kids as well because they are also victims. And so that's how it came about.
When did that start?
I want to say 1996. Mm-hmm. The services have been going on for a long time, and unfortunately, because of the increase in violence in the communities and on TV and in school, whatever, a lot of children are witnessing things that they probably never saw before or should not even be seeing. So our numbers keep increasing, but there's only so much work we can do, in that particular program.
And types of issues you're seeing in families today really are different than they were than, let's say, 20 years ago. You mentioned 1996, but maybe not so different. I mean, domestic violence in 96, we're still seeing it today,
right.
Sadly. And your agency is responding to some of those crises.
Yes.
But also some other things. Adoption, for instance.
Adoption is, that's our baby. We kind of started off as an orphanage back in 1843 to provide children who were homeless during the whaling era, some families. So we still provide adoption. We do special needs and older children adoption. We don't do infant adoption. So we have a lot of children who are siblings, and we don't want to separate them, so we try to find a good home to keep them all together. Children who have special needs as well. And then our Adoption Journeys program kind of goes hand in hand with that. It's a post-adoptive program where if you adopted, and it doesn't matter where you adopted from, when you adopted, you could have been living in Texas and adopted from China, whatever. If you are living in the state of Massachusetts and you are now noticing, the things, the growing pains of everyone has with their children, and that child was adopted, then you can call us and we help with support, with respite and things like that as well. So just another great program that's very unique to Child and Family.
Cherie Morehouse, how did you get involved with Child and Family?
I actually got involved. I worked for Richard Cardoza at Cardoza's Wine and Spirits. I was the beverage catering manager at the time, and kind of got involved, ended up on the board, and have always kind of just remained in that organization. Lived out of state for a while and came back, and actually Susan was one of the first people that I reconnected with when I came back here. I just think that the organization is fabulous. I think that if not personally, we all probably know someone who has at one time or another sought out services or needed them. And I just think that, it's a great way to teach our children. I have a young son, about giving back and being involved. And there's, we might all have issues and problems, but there really are so many people out there who are so less fortunate than us, and I just really feel that it's important to not stand behind the sidelines and watch, but to actually jump in and get involved.
You mentioned there might be some confusion about your name sometimes, Child and Family Services, with the Department of Children and Families.
Correct.
And that, let's make it clear, Child and Family Services is working to keep families together. They're not out to take your kids, none of that stuff. This is completely a way to keep families together, make families stronger, help them get through some difficult times sometimes. You may not know where to go or where to turn, and I'm certain you must get calls every day from people who are just looking for a referral or an answer to a question or any stuff like that.
Unfortunately, it's hard to keep up with the demand. So we're not a type of business that has to go out and find clients. They find us. They know. Our, difficulty is, keeping it all together and getting the support that we need financially for some programs. But, children, we see a lot more children. And coming in all the time with a lot of anxiety now. We also have a lot more grandparents that we're seeing because they're raising children due to the opioid crisis. So these children, the moms or dads are addicted, or they're in jail, or they're in rehab. So these kids, are now suffering another trauma because now they have to go live with another family member, and the other family member might not be able to afford to keep them financially. So they're dealing with issues as well. We did have a lot of Holiday Hope Project applications this year. It was a lot of grandparents that are raising these kids. So the world is changing. I mean, I know there was always drugs even back in the 70s, but this opioid addiction is really having a huge effect on, the entire family. So we're working hand in hand with that because you can't have an opioid addiction problem and not have a mental health problem as well. So that's kind of, they call it dual diagnosis in the mental health world.
And not just poor families either.
No.
That's reaching a different economic status of folks.
A lot of kids who play sports, who have had injuries and needed surgery, and they get a prescription for, painkiller after their surgery, and then, some of them, they just want to keep that great, feeling that they're getting from that, and so they go on and they, unfortunately, start using either heroin or other opioids. So, the thing with mental health and even substance abuse, it doesn't just affect one population. You don't have to be poor. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be white. You don't have to be black. You don't have to be Hispanic. You don't have to live in New Bedford. You can live in Dartmouth. It doesn't matter. It affects everyone, and it affects these kids that are going to school, and then they have they have other students in their class and their teachers. So all this affects the community, and people like Cherie, they get involved because they live in the community and they don't want their community to be broken. So, our mission is to heal and strengthen the lives of children and families, and that means everybody, because when we're all, mentally sound and doing well, then everybody else prospers as well. So,
How is the agency funded now? You raise a great deal of money here with these fundraisers, but you also, I'm sure, rely on state funding for programs and perhaps even federal funding.
Yep, we do apply for grants that are federally funded. We also have state-funded programs through Department of Children and Families as far as where our referrals come from. So like for our parent mentor program, it's a closed referral. And then we have, third-party insurers. Our biggest insurer that we deal with is, Mass Health. Obviously, 92% of our clients have Mass Health. So it's different. It depends. We have a difficult time up the Cape because there's not very good public transportation out there. So our clinicians who are in Hyannis have to drive all the way up to, Provincetown and Truro and Wellfleet, and that's a different differential for them. So, it's tough keeping those doors open over there, but we managed to do so. There's a lot of great people in the community giving back every day, and we don't really hear about that in the news. We hear about the tragedies.
You're concerned about the federal grants? Are you
Yes.
giving a heads up about those?
Well, especially with, healthcare parity, there's a lot of disparity, but we want to have parity. So, if you go in to be treated for, your heart or a broken leg, it's a lot easier than if you want to get treated for mental health illness. And it's, mind, body, everything has to be in working function. So we're concerned about, what's happening up in the federal district, I should say, and about how they're looking to do some, tax cuts and how it's going to affect us. But keep our doors open. Yep. We got to keep going.
That's right. Absolutely. Okay, Cherie Morehouse, tell us again about the fundraiser, where you can get tickets, when is it, what time?
All right. So it is being held on Thursday, November 16th. It's our second year at the Seaport Inn in Fairhaven, which was a great venue last year. Lots of space. Tickets are $75 each, and that includes all the food from all the wonderful restaurants who are donating their food and their time, the wine and the spirits, the accessibility to the silent auction and the raffle, and it begins at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, and we're going to have a sort of cocktail social time before the band gets going, so people can mingle and kind of, talk to people they haven't seen in a while and just have a really fun evening. Again, you can certainly reach out to Susan at Child and Family to obtain tickets. Or if you see me around and or you know me and you're listening and you want to get in touch with me on social media or through AFC Urgent Care, I'd be happy to get you a ticket. And we'd love to, really make this even better than last year. We had an amazing turnout last year. We're always looking for it to be bigger and better. So, whatever people can do to help support this and make it a great event, we appreciate.
November 16th. And folks can check out more on the website.
On our website, yep, child-familyservices.org. We also have a Facebook page and a Twitter page, and they can call me as well, 508-742-1032.
My guest, Susan Remy, the Development Director, and Cherie Morehouse, volunteer at Child and Family Services.
Correct.
Thanks to both of you for stopping by, and I hope you have a very successful fundraiser coming up on the 16th.
Thanks so much for having us.